it's Drybear. And Wildgate just launched and is available now. It is a PvEVP extraction game where 5 teams of 4 all man a ship and then travel around in an open space, collecting loot, upgrading their ship's weapons, upgrading their weapons, getting stronger and stronger, ultimately clashing with the other teams in the map and eventually looking to extract with the items that they have on board, which makes a very fun FPS / ship-based combat Sea of Thieves style experience, which is pretty cool. It gives you a wide range of experiences all in one, where you have FPS combat both against dungeon NPCs like monsters and creatures you'll find in the POIs. So you land these POIs with your ship, everyone gets out and tries to go loot, and you fight monsters, then you collect loot based on how hard the monsters were, and then you bring back the loot, upgrade your ship, upgrade your gear, and move on. And eventually an escape portal called the Wildgate, name included. So the Wildgate opens up, you and your team gets to extract. However, the only way you can extract is by collecting the rare artifact that exists in the map. So some portion into the map, you will receive an artifact icon, and once that artifact is available, you grab it, put it on board, and you're able to extract against the other teams as you battle. So today I wanted to go through everything that you need to know to get started in Wildgate, how all the mechanics work, and demystify everything for you, so that when you jump into game, you can focus on having fun and getting better at playing the prospector that you prefer, or the ship that you like, instead of trying to fumble around with the controls and see how things work. Starting on the home screen here, this is exactly what you'll see. You'll want to kind of choose your mode. I recommend doing the single player tutorial first. So in the bottom right corner, you can select mode and go to single player tutorial and hit play. That'll teach you some of the mechanics. There's still some things that are left out, but in general, it gives you a really strong foundation for how the game functions. And you'll pretty much be playing Artifact Hunt with multiplayer and other players, and you can do this either with a squad you invite or randomly filling squad mates in your group. And I will tell you that the game is very harshly designed around 4-man teams, which means that if you're going to do anything less than 4, you're putting yourself at a pretty significant disadvantage. I've tried 3-man teams, I've tried solo runs, and you lose pretty much every time because fires break out, components break, you need people repairing, you need people, running ice into the reactor, you need people flying the ship to maneuver to avoid, one spot in your shields getting hit over and over. You need people on the guns. Some ships have many guns to man, and you also need people that are invading the other ship and dealing with invaders. There's just too much to do for a solo player, so this game is pretty much just not going to be a solo experience. Even if you like the heightened challenge of going against a bigger crew, you're almost always going to be at a severe disadvantage there. Now we'll start with the firing range, because this gives you all the items that you can test around, and I can show you what's going on as we jump into game. So this is what it'll look like when you jump into a game. You will land aboard the ship. Whoever the leader of the squad is, it takes their preferred ship and their ship name as part of it. So this is the ship that we have here. So you'll jump in here and try out these things, try things out that are very important. So let's start with the very basics of the ship. In order to move the ship around, you will need someone to pilot it. And so you'll be moving around. You can see there's an enemy ship there. Very obvious to see. There's the extraction point, which we won't be able to exit unless we have an artifact on board, and then here are the ship controls that we'll see. So we'll start with piloting the ship. When you're in the ship, this is a very basic piloting mechanism. There aren't a lot of additive systems that help you pilot, and unfortunately there isn't really a way to see around your ship either. So because the ship is so large, you would be very careful when you're piloting it to give it a wide berth and make sure you're not running into things, because you can see the ship is pretty freaking big. This is actually this one is one of the smaller, like medium-sized ships, but there are definitely others that are bigger than this one. So you get to the point where, like, even though you're piloting from here, because you don't have a 3P camera, you can very easily, like, I can turn over here and I can drive forward, and then all of a sudden I'll crash into this. And when you crash, your ship takes damage. If your shields run into a wall at all, they will break immediately. And if you collide with anything, either other enemy ships or a wall, you will take damage, which will start fires. It'll break doors, it'll break glass, and all of that. So you want to make sure that you're piloting that way. When you're on the camera screen here for piloting your ship, so looking at the UI here, there's a couple things to understand. This segment here is your forward momentum. So this is when you hold the forward button, your engine will fill up and your forward power, forward thrusters will go up from this. One thing to keep in mind is that when your shields are active, you are defending yourself against attacks. However, when your shields are active, you are slowing yourself down. So you'll notice that this segment right here is actually grayed out because the shields are up. So the best thing to do is when you're not in danger and you're traveling around is to hold C on PC to turn your shields off. So now your shields are off, and you'll notice that, again, this little marker right here has lit up. Right? So now all of a sudden you can go full maximum forward thrusters because your shields are down. Now, when your shields are down, you will have this weird like overlay look on your ship. For an enemy, it'll be red, but you'll notice that the shields, and rather than a bubble shield like you see over there, like on that far side, so that's what it looks like when your shields are up. It have this bubble around it, and then when the shields are down, it looks like this. It just kind of, they focus the shield power on the thrusters, and you get more forward thrust to be able to move faster while you have your shields down. So make sure you're not flying around in open space with no enemies nearby with your shields up, because you do go noticeably slower. So back to this screen, we know that this is your forward momentum here that goes faster when your shields are down. This is your reverse, and if you ever press the brake, it's going to be this red thing here. So this is 0 for forward versus backward. A little bit of backward. You can't reverse that fast in the ship, but these are your two kind of motions there. Now, when you're trying to turn, that's going to be these lines right here. So this arch that's above, you'll notice that while I have this active, if I decide to turn, it goes left and it goes right. And this is independent of your forward and back. So to pilot properly, you want to get some forward momentum, and then you can start doing your vertical, your horizontal, and your turning. You're not going to be turning on a dime unless you're running a scout with a smuggler's hard point on it, but you do have some turn speed, which is pretty cool. And if any time you feel like you need to brake, you can hold Q and it'll turn off all directional motion. All thrusters get shut down, so you'll be able to stop in place, which is pretty nice. Then you also have, on top of it, you have your vertical thrust and your downward thrust, which you can control as you do normally in flight games by using a space and left control. So space brings you up. This takes your ship and moves it straight up. Control, when you hold it, puts you in downward thrust. So you have forward, backward, left, right, downward, and upward, and then you have a brake. Very simple, very straightforward, and a lot of it relies on your forward and backward velocity so that you can use that to turn, right? So if you have no forward velocity, it's going to be very hard for you to go up or down or left or right. You kind of need to be moving in a direction to get that kind of motion there, which is really cool. And then on top of that, you also have the boost, which does require fuel, which when you activate this, it just gives you higher than normal velocity at front. But to be able to get that, you need to collect enough fuel to use it on your ship. So how do you do that? There are 3 main resources you'll want to collect while you're out on your adventures, and it's going to be placed inside your ship processor right here. Depending on the ship you have, it has a different layout. You will have either fuel, which is this red arrow. This is what you use for your afterburners. You have ice, which is how you cool down the reactor, and when you consume ice, you will actually heal your ship. And so you basically need to put ice in this machine, then come over here and hit this button when it's available, and when you consume ice, it will heal your ship, which is down in the bottom middle. You'll see our screen, our HP value there at the bottom. 90 is the HP pool. So collecting ice and fuel is very important if you want to maneuver, and also if you want to heal your ship. Now, since we're on the training range, we can see what these look like normally, but you'll basically be finding ship ammo inside of the POIs that you're looting, which is super important. And all you have to do with these is you can just grab these, pick them up, and take them back to your ship. Now, anytime you're going back to your ship, there is a global hotkey that every prospector has, and that is holding C. C will teleport you back. C is in cat. It'll teleport you back to your ship wherever you are. If you're across the map, like way on the other side, it'll still teleport you back. You can do it once, and then you can jump out and do it again, which allows you to always do it. And you can only hold 1 item at a time. So if I try to pick up another item, it'll drop the one I have. You can only have 1 item at a time, but the play is to jump up, grab an item, teleport back to your ship, and dump it in. So this red thing I'm holding is fuel. I put it in, the fuel goes up. Same thing for the ice, same thing for the ammunition. You need ammunition to fire, ice to heal your ship, and fuel to use the afterburners. You need all of these in great value. So as you're looting, make sure you're grabbing these and turn them into the ship, because it will make a massive difference in your ability to survive. I have lost fights where I was way outgeared over the enemy ship we were fighting, but we had no ice, so we couldn't heal, so we were done done for, or we'd run out of ammo and we're done for. So while it's nice to think about all the cool upgrades and gear, make sure you're doing a very regular, steady inflow of all 3 of your resources, fuel, ice, and ammo if you want to make it to the end. Next, let's talk about the other forcing function in the game, oxygen. Now, obviously you have your own health and everything, but outside of your ship is open space in the void that you can't breathe unless you're a robot. One of the, or 2 of the prospector characters has immunity to oxygen. The other ones have to breathe. So in the bottom left-hand corner next to my name, you can see a green bar, which is my HP pool, and then a blue bar, which is my oxygen. So as a humanoid character that breathes oxygen, as soon as I leave my ship's shield here, as I fall down, you'll notice in the bottom left, my oxygen is now decreasing. And when it reaches 0, I will get a very massive dot that will tick down on my character until I die and I'm dead and I have to respawn. So your only option really here is to use oxygen vents, which look like this. You'll find these all over dungeons, and some of the dungeons will have debuffs where your oxygen rapidly drains. You have to go stand on these. All you have to do is just stand on it and you'll notice that your blue bar fills back up and you can go back to it. So make sure you're paying attention to your oxygen. This is super important if you decide, like, say you wanted to sneak aboard that ship over there. This is very common. People will just go out into the open and then fly towards the enemy ship, board it, and trying to sabotage it if they can. But obviously you're limited by your oxygen. Because I left my ship, I now have, you know, ticking down oxygen. If I don't make it to their ship in time, I will die for a lack of oxygen. Next, let's look at all the different loot and items that you can find out here in the open. So as you go to different POIs, different loots, different dungeons, you'll find all kinds of things that you can use to benefit you, to benefit your ship, or benefit your team. All these have different purposes and uses. Let's start with the weapons, the ship weapons. These are the most interesting and the most important, I think, because basically when you have a ship that spawns, your weapons are going to be the lowest quality possible and will do the minimum amount of damage. You notice how this is a ship cannon. It doesn't even have a name. It's common quality. It's basic range, basic weapon. You can shoot it and deal damage with it, but it's the lowest quality ship cannon that you can get. Then, as you're exploring, depending on the rarity of the loot you find, you can find all kinds of weapons. So this is golden quality, this is rare, these are rare. There's also some greens down here at the bottom. Some are shotguns, some are quad cannons, some shoot from a distance, some have like projectiles that heat seek, some have like crazy like damage drain. You can even get like something you can stick on the front of your ship that rams other ships and does damage that way. All kinds of stuff. And just like the ammunition, just like the items you're looking at here, they get grabbed the exact same way. So you can grab one of these, we can teleport back to the ship with our loot, and then all you have to do is walk up to a turret and then upgrade it. If the turret is common quality, it will just replace it. You can't, you know, pull a common quality weapon off of a ship. So when I put it in the gold, it now replaces that weapon with the new weapon, which is really cool. So you can see it kind of listed here on the ship. And then you can pilot it from the inside and shoot it based on the one you have equipped. So that is how you use the cannons themselves. Where you put it based on the ship you have is all up to you. And you can do some really cool stuff with these that all have different functions and stuff like that. So you can like blow some holes in the shield and do damage that way. So those are the ship weapons that you grab and attach to your ship. Next are going to be the hardpoints. So these are basically bonuses, buffs, and devices that you can attach to your ship, which give you various benefits, usually defensive in many natures, depending on what you add to your ship. And there's even some offensive ones like these bomb traps, where you can actually take these bomb traps, land on an enemy ship, shove it on their hard point, and then after a timer, it will explode and cause fires. So you can actually take offensive hard points and install them. But let's take a very common one. These are like the 2 that I would recommend you pay attention to the most when you're first starting out. Fire barrier and storm barrier. As you're out moving around in the open space, you might find fire asteroids that are on fire. If you fly through them without a fire barrier, your ship will catch fire. So I've had plenty of pilots that didn't know this. They fly through a fire asteroid, ship's on fire, we've got a problem, so you grab the fire barrier. Same thing for the cosmic storm. If there's a cosmic storm, a big purple storm, it does ticking damage when you're in it. If you fly through that without a storm barrier, it will damage your ship and destroy it, as well as anyone else that's outside the ship around. So when you pick up a hard point, you'll notice this install here. It looks like this, it's like a plug. Every ship has a certain number of plugs depending on which ship you're talking about and the layout it has. So you can just walk up to one of these, press F on PC, see, and boom. Now we've got a storm barrier, which means as long as this hardpoint is installed on our ship and we fly through a cosmic storm, nothing happens, we're immune to it, everything's perfectly fine. And you have tons of these to choose from. Now, I'm not gonna go through all of them that are on here, but I do wanna kind of highlight some of the most important ones. One of the most important ones I would say is security device. What this does is that when an enemy boards your ship, you get an announcement in your ear that tells everyone on your team that an enemy has boarded your ship. This is a super useful tool, which is very, very strong. I like having these, and one of the ships even comes stock with one of these already installed. You can also walk up to this hard point, hit the button, and it'll close all unsecured doors on the outside, which is super nice and very convenient. So you can slap this thing in here, you can walk up to it, and you can hit the button and close all the doors. So if there's a door that's open, you can go boop, and all the doors on the outside get closed, which is very important. It means that they have to use an unsecured door to get in, depending on where you are on the ship, which is very nice. And doors auto-close 1 second after an enemy boards, which means when they get on board, they get stuck on board and they can't leave without going through the unsecured door, which is quite nice. And you'll find tons of them, some that auto-generate ammo, some that do extra shield health, some things that are really important. You get a laser ram, which when you put this on, it creates a short-range beam in front of your ship. And then if you ram an enemy ship, it will deal damage, which is pretty cool as well. So you can actually walk over to one of these hard points, install the laser ram, and then now we should have a laser on the front of the ship that looks like, actually we're gonna put it right here on the very front so we can see it. You'll notice that it has this laser beam coming out. If an enemy ship gets near this, they will take significant damage. Now we've got a sense for flying our ship. We've got a sense for the resources we have to collect to keep it moving. We have a sense for the hard points and what we install on them, as well as the turrets and how we use them, and the POIs that we have connected. Now let's talk about the PvP aspect of the game, starting with ship versus ship combat. So let's get right up on top of this enemy test ship so we can show exactly where the points of vulnerability are and how to actually play this. So first things first, we're in a spacewalk here. We can see the difference between shields, right? Their shields are up, our shields are down right now. And then you can also see that you can just leave the ship and spacewalk, which means that you can fly over to the enemy ship if you want, board, kill anyone inside with your FPS weapon, and cause all kinds of mayhem on board. The main thing that you need to know about boarding ships or being boarded is there are two different kinds of doors. Secured doors, which are only one way, they only open from the inside, and unsecured doors, which open from both sides. So if you're looking on the ship and you're flying in, you will notice there's a lot of secured doors. They look like this, they have like this metal gate, and as I'm standing here, I cannot open this from the outside. I can't enter their ship by using the secured doors unless they open the door from the inside and forget to shut it, and or don't have a security device installed. So a big thing that you need to learn when playing this game is learning to close secured doors behind you so that you don't leave a wide open gaping entrance for enemies to board your ship from, right? So this right here, what I generally will do is I'll open the door that's secure, go out, turn around and aim at the button, and you can close the door behind you. Now you can't get back in. Now obviously if this is your ship, you can just hold C and teleport inside if you want to. However, there's a second kind of door, which is an unsecured door, which opens from both directions. So these are secure doors. However, on this default starter ship, when you go up here, this is an unsecured door. It looks like this. It's a hatch on the top, and anyone can open this from either side, including enemies. So on this ship, this is the one and only way to enter if all the secured doors are closed. So you'll be able to funnel people this way, and if you want to, you can use all kinds of tricks. You can throw down traps that people step in, like bear traps and things like that. You can set up fires or turrets and things like that, or you can close all the secure doors and then camp right here to defend if you feel like someone's about to board you, which is super important. So what you can do is you can go over to the enemy ship, use your movement speed to get over there, and then once you're on top of it, then you want to go for their unsecured door if none of the secure doors are open, and you enter inside to the enemy ship. Now, there's enemies inside here normally. They'll shoot at you and kill you, or you can shoot at them and kill them. You can jump on the pilot who's flying here and shoot him and destroy him, cause the ship. You can grab the ship and run it into an asteroid if you wanted to. You can get on one of their cannons and start shooting at different things if you want to, or what you can do is you can cause the ship to start to self-destruct. So if you go on the ship, go to their engine here and then overload this. If you start this, it will start burning hotter and hotter and hotter until eventually the ship starts taking damage and eventually explodes, which is really huge. So you actually jump in. That's the first thing that you would do normally, is jump on and overload, unless you feel like you're kind of surrounded by enemies, maybe you want to poke and prod prod them a little bit as well. So you have like engines here that you can deal damage to. You can also at any point, if they have a ship weapon that is higher quality than normal, you can walk up and take it. Like you can actually just rip the turret out of its piece and then fly away and get away. You can also, if they have hard points, you can walk up to a hard point and steal that as well. So you'll notice I'm in the enemy ship. I noticed that they have a super cool, super fancy macro cannon that I want to keep. So I'm going to walk up to this red button. Instead of going to the turret, I go to the red button and I hold the F button, and then I can literally just rip the ship weapon out and it says item stolen. So now they're back down to default, and I can just hold C and disappear, and now this is mine. Like we now have this on board. This is ours. We just ripped the ship cannon right off of it. The same thing goes for hard points as well. So we can even go to like one of the hard points we might have on here. You can walk up to it, hold Elf, rip it off the ship and take it away. So if you want to pillage the enemy ship, you certainly can. Whether the ship's already destroyed or not, it doesn't matter. If there's stuff to grab, grab it and take it home. The next thing to know about is shields and positioning. So when you're in the pilot seat, we're back here. You'll notice in the bottom, like the very bottom middle there. So right down here as the pilot, you want to have a pilot pretty much most of the time. Being a sitting duck means they're going to blow right through your shields and destroy you, but you want to pay attention to this UI down here if you're a pilot in the bottom middle. This will show you what your shield health is and where the direction, like this, it looks like a bubble shield, but it's actually a quadrant shield based on direction, and you can break holes into it as well. So down here we have the ship UI, but then you want to kind of take very close attention to that ship UI. So right now we have no shields on. We're going to bring our shields up. Then you'll notice that the shields themselves, they pop up and they will fill this bubble shield that has quadrant sections on it. So now our shield is up. You can see this bubble is up. Anything from the outside, including normal fire. So like if you shoot like this against an enemy outside the shield, it's not going to do anything. You need to break the shield to actually do anything to it. So let's take up one of our cannons here and let's look at the enemy shields. The shields themselves, it's kind of like a hexagon grid. So you'll notice that we blew a hole in it right there. We can also blow a hole in it here. It's all on a grid, and you can blow holes in these. And once the hole is there, the rest of the shield stands and they can kind of generate more. However, once the shield is gone, you can then start doing damage directly to the hull of the ship, which will do crazy nonsense, causing problems on board. So let's jump over here to the enemy ship and see what mayhem we've caused. And a bunch of damage to this. You'll notice that the more damage we do to it, the more damage it's going to do to different areas. So what can happen when your ship gets damaged is you can end up generating fires. Fires themselves don't do anything initially until you get to 10 fires total. So when there's a lot of fires on board, it'll start damaging the enemy ship health directly as a ticking dot. You can destroy hard points. You can even destroy security doors as well to get on board. And remember that whole thing about oxygen. If for any reason the windows of the doors get blown out from ship damage, you won't have oxygen anymore. Everyone on board that needs to breathe will no longer be able to breathe. Now, as a desperate attempt, you can actually ram your ship against the enemy ship if you want to. Remember, any collision will just instantly destroy any shields you run into, and you can also deal damage directly to the ship. So if you have a bigger ship or you feel like you have better engineering and more ice than they do, you can just run straight into their ship as well. But let's go ahead and destroy the ship and talk about ship cores. It's also good to know that based on where you are, ships have weak points. So if you shoot the cockpit, you do actually a little bit more damage than normal, and you can also cause fires to spawn around the pilot, killing them and preventing them from playing. You can destroy certain ship weapons or hit specific parts if you want, but generally I just like to find a really weak spot and just punish that spot as hard as I can. And just like that, you can see the ship hull is down to 1. They're actually on fire right now. We go for the kill and kaboom. Now, the thing to know about exploding ships is they will do damage in an area, and they will also kill everyone on board that is flying the ship, and they will drop inside of them a ship core. And the ship core is just a hard point that you can collect from a destroyed enemy player ship that when you place on your ship gives it some kind of bonus, like increased like hull HP or shield recovery or things like that. Depending on what you're doing with it, it gives you some kind of nice bonus. So when you destroy an enemy player ship, you do want to jump on board, see what hard points they have, see what ship weapons they have. If they have any bonus items, then also grab their ship core as well, as it's almost always worth it. Next, you want to choose your prospector, which is your character. They each come with about 2 abilities. Some have a passive and 2 abilities, but 2 abilities just about that give them some kind of playstyle and maneuverability that you'll be able to select. Now, when you're here on the main screen, what you want to do is go to the rewards tab. So up here in the top left, go to rewards, and in this, they'll have a whole bunch of random battle passes. that you progress just by playing the game and getting further. So you'll notice that in these battle passes, there are things like characters that you can unlock. So getting to the robot here, you can also unlock ships this way. So kind of click through each of the battle pass like progression events, and then find the ones you want. I like just going around just grabbing all the dudes. Like I went and grabbed each of the prospector characters that we can play, and then kind of just going through finding out where the ships are and collecting the ships as well. But that's where you unlock characters and ships. Then in the top left corner, you can go to loadout. Your first selection here is going to be your character. So let's quickly give you a high level overview of what each character does. Adrian has a jetpack. It allows him to get around when he's doing EVA spacewalk very easily, and he flies faster. He's a very generic, straightforward character. It will rely a lot on your weapons choice, but you have very, very easy movement when you're spacewalking out of your ship. Venture is a robot that doesn't need to breathe, so he's unaffected by oxygen, which is a huge boon. He also regenerates health faster and gets a warning when someone's sneaking up behind him, which is kind of cool. Kay is super useful. She can grab anything from a distance. This means picking up items, opening doors, depositing ammunition into the ship, pulling turrets off of the wall. All of that can be done at about 10 meters away for her, which is crazy strong. And then she also has a warp jump. She can teleport really far away, 100 meters away, which is excellent for going from one ship to another. You can just teleport to the enemy ship and get on board without them spotting you. This dog goat creature has some pretty cool defensive capabilities. He can make it so that if he kills another player who invaded his ship, he will instantly heal to 100% right away. And he can also see enemies through walls that have boarded his ship as well. So he's a very good ship defender. Ion is super fun. He has double damage on melee attacks, and he can also punch ship parts in order to destroy them. So you can walk up to a hard point, even on the outside of a ship, and break it by punching it, which is pretty cool. And he reloads faster, which is neat. This little guy is super hard to see when he's out spacewalking. Very small, but he has wings, lower than average HP, but he can fly faster and go stealth, which makes him really good at invading enemy ships. And lastly, we have Saul. He has a multi-tool that can heal or repair multiple things at once, which makes him very, very strong. He can scrap unwanted items to get random items or other devices, and he has a very high amount of HP. So this guy in a 1v1 is hard to kill because he has so much more HP than everybody else. Then you'll select your weapons of choice. You unlock these through the little battle passes. They all have different bonuses and benefits. You have 2 equipment items that are very useful. This first one is very useful, Teleport Reloader. This means that when you go back to your ship, you automatically resupply your character. You can take this off, but it takes some getting used to having to resupply every time you come back to the ship. And then you can choose your ship as well of the 4 that are here. The Hunter is an average ship. It has medium amount of guns, medium amount of defense, medium amount of speed. The Scout is very fast, high movement speed, high turn speed, high utilization of fuel, but they only have 3 weapons on board and are very squishy compared to the other ships. Then you have the Bastion, which is incredibly slow, but also very tanky and has guns in every possible direction. So they may arrive at the ending point the slowest, but they are definitely the scariest if you get on a one-on-one confrontation with this ship. And then you have Privateer, which is kind of like a hybrid between the starter ship and the defensive ship. They have a lot of guns on the front, not as many guns on the back, and they have very high velocity for projectiles. So good offense, but they're not quite as tanky as the Bastion, for example. It's also worth noting that there are limited fire amount weapons that you can find as loot. So for example, we can come over here and we can find things like the Star Lance. This one has a limited amount of fire and it's an uncommon weapon, but you can activate it and use this as a weapon for a short while if you want to. So I shoot the last shot here. It's 3 shots and then it's spent. It's gone, deleted forever. It's just like a super powered weapon that you can bring. Same thing with the Ancient Star Lance. You also have things like tractor beams that you can use to pick up items from a distance, which is pretty useful. You can pick up turbines, which you can use as thruster to zoom yourself around as you're flying around in space. You want to use this as a power source. You can fly around. And you can even find things like these back here, which help give your ship or anything you want additional thrust. So this is a clamp jet. You can attach it to a ship and then shoot it, which turns the jet on and causes it to do things. You can do some freaky deaky things with this as well. You can cause ships to turn around. Some people, what they'll do is they'll go right behind the cockpit and put this against the wall, like right here. So they'll be able to like put it there and then they shoot it and then turn it on, and that way they can actually like get it to do things or just kind of show up that way. Or you can go to an enemy ship, put it on the side of their ship and turn it on. It'll turn their ship against their will. They'll have to find the clamp jet to deal with it as it's kind of like, you know, floating around in space, but it gives you some pretty cool options to play around with if that's what you're looking for. So right now we shot it. We have uncontrolled acceleration. It's forcing our ship into the floor, and you basically have to run out and find this clamp jet and destroy it if you want to stop it from being able to do this to your ship. ship. But again, as an invader, you can jump on their ship and do all kinds of quirky things to cause them to do whatever you want them to do. You can put it on the wing of them, cause them to spin out of control, or force them up into a wall or against a wall. But you can cause all kinds of problems. I will close out the video with just some other roles that you need to perform, as you know, they're not the most important roles, but they can be very useful. You generally want someone piloting, keeping the ship in a good spot, and when you're in a actual dogfight with another ship, you want to make sure you're positioning your ship to always have shields facing the enemy, you know, because we're quadrant ships, shields. So if you go here, obviously we have ship shields in the front, but if they poke a hole in it, maybe you want to turn the ship so you don't have open hull just exposed to the enemy. So you want a pilot controlling it. You want people that are kind of invading and defending against invaders and doing things like that, grabbing loot and pulling it on board. You also want people repairing. So press 3 on PC to bring out your multi-tool, and then you just channel on any problem. If something needs repairing, so a fire needs to be put out, if there's issues on board, you can just grab it with the multi-tool to fix that as a really good important role. By the way, these are the recharge stations that you need if you don't use the one that teleports you back, and you'll find these in dungeons as well. Just walk up to him, hold F, it'll refill your health, your ammo, all of that, and then you'll be good to go and ready to move again, so if you're not using that thing. And the other job is gathering resources. So on the left here, that is a fuel deposit, and on the right is an ice deposit. So this is where you'll get most of your fuel and ice, because they don't tend to spawn in dungeons or in POIs. So wherever your ship is, you can just spacewalk over to them, grab your multi-tool, and as you get close to them, you can hold the beam and it'll extract the whole node into a handheld for you. So you walk up, do this, it'll destroy the whole thing, give you a fuel or ice handheld, teleport back to your ship, go to the processor, put it in there, and boom, we just increased the resource. So you want to make sure you're doing that as often as possible. That's like your baseline activity, is to always be going out and grabbing fuel, ammunition, and ice, because you will consume them very fast when you get into a full head-on collision. And lastly, I'll leave you with just a brief description of the POIs, the dungeons you'll find yourself coming to. You can see what loot they drop, if they have loot remaining as you're flying up to it, and then once you get on board, you'll see in the top left corner there is an objective list. In order to unlock the final loot chest at the end, the loot room at the end, you need to complete all objectives: defeating enemies, hitting panels, finding deployables and turning them off, doing whatever objectives are required. And then once you're fully done, all the checkpoints are done in the top left corner, the loot room will open. And the easiest way to tell the difference between these is that when you're entering a normal room, there will be a light around the entrance that is blue. That's the entrance to a POI or a dungeon. However, if you're looking at a loot room, the rim around that door will be golden yellow. So you'll see as we come back in here, the loot room has that golden yellow glow. That's how you know where the loot room is. And once you're inside, you'll notice that the in context world icon shows the amount of loot that's still left inside that loot room. So if you look up here, you'll see it says loot 3. That means there's 3 items of value still inside the loot room. So you just go in and keep doing that until that number disappears and you're good to go, and you still have these items here. You can decide whether you want to keep her or not, jump on the ship and fly away to some other location as you get stronger and stronger and try to avoid or directly battle other players you run into. Then your last goal, your final goal as everything goes crazy, is to find the artifact, get it on board, and extract at the Wildgate, which spawns on the map. However, beware, as soon as one person does it, one group does it, it's over. There's only one artifact, there's only one portal. So as you can see here, we are in battle with another ship, and someone had grabbed the artifact stealthily and flew out, and that immediately ends the game. So you want to be getting to the center, finding the Wildgate, finding the artifact immediately, or someone could just run away with the game without you knowing. And that is Wildgate. Hopefully that gives you everything you need to know to jump into the game. The game is super fun. I'll be putting my thoughts out on it shortly, but this is going to get you started in playing Wildgate. And let me know what you think about the game down below. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.